That's boy, yo. Literally, this shit makes me go weird. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're talking all about interviews, and I'm going to give you 5 of my top favourite interview questions and how to answer them. I'll also be putting an example answer which you can feel free to take, screenshot it, pause the video, whatever, just so that you know how to answer it. The questions I've chosen are very generic, so it doesn't matter whether you've worked or whether you haven't worked before, you will still be able to answer these questions really well. So let's begin. So tell me about yourself. This is one of the most irritating questions, I promise you, and you will understand why I've decided to make it the first question I talk about. When you're put on the spot and you're told to describe yourself and talk about yourself, it's very, very hard, because what you find is that you actually don't do as much as you think you do that is relevant to the job. So any other friend, or if you're meeting somebody, etc., you could easily talk about yourself, what you like doing. But when you are being asked, tell me about yourself, essentially, although they want to understand who you are as a person, they want to get to know you, be very aware that they are taking everything in. So you have to be very careful about how you word things here, because although they are questioning you, they are figuring out if you are the candidate for them. I will pop an example on the screen of something that I would probably say in that situation, but of course, again, this kind of question is very generic. The most important thing to take away from this is that you are very honest and you portray yourself in a very positive manner. Ignore all bad habits. Ignore all things that you like to do in your spare time, in terms of when you were a uni student or things like that. They want to know what hobbies you do, what do you do outside of work, do you have a life, basically. So the more you can convince them that I'm, a fun and social person to be around, the more they're going to want you on their team. And that is with any job. Whether it's a lie or the truth, to be honest, make it believable. No one can tell you you're lying. You're talking about yourself. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Why do you want to work here? I love this question. I will pop an example answer somewhere on this screen. So talk about how you agree with the company's values. A big thing for every company is corporate governance, so the way that they are structured. It is a very, very big thing in every company. So researching the company's corporate governance structure and things like that is really, really helpful, and it just makes it makes you stand out as well. It's a really big tip here, I'm letting you know now. By saying that you agree with the corporate governance of the company, you are basically saying you agree with the way that it's grown, you are agreeing with the people in charge, you like the company as a whole, and you would like to belong to a company like this. And all of that can form part of your answer. If you literally sit there and say, I want to work here because I need money, I don't have to tell you that you cannot say that. That could literally be the difference between you getting the job and you not getting the job. You can also answer the question in terms of what you have to give to the company. More times than none, it is a separate question on its own. But if you feel that the reason why you want to work here is because I can really benefit or I can really learn. But with this, please be prepared to explain how. What is your greatest weakness? So when an employer asks you what your greatest weaknesses are, what they essentially are looking for is that you've reflected upon your style of learning, you reflected about your personality, and you are able to perform a effective evaluation of yourself. Nobody is perfect and everyone has weaknesses, so you should be able to tell them what they are. The trick here is listen. Just wait for the job, just listen. The trick here is to turn one of your strengths into a weakness. Again, a model answer appears somewhere now. Mine is that I really like to help people. So in that respect, I sometimes don't get my own work done, or I sometimes fall behind on my own work. Are you seeing how that's worded? So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that you've reflected on. So you're basically saying, out of all the hard work that I put in, what could I do different, as opposed to what's bad? Ooh, this is nice. Can you tell me about a difficult work situation and how you overcame it? I love it. Now we're getting into the juicy stuff. But this is basically going to relate to either difficult customers or internal conflicts in the workplace. If you have had a job before, this will not be that difficult for you, because I'm sure everybody that has worked has dealt with a difficult customer at least once in their life. You want to make sure that you really talk probably this much about the difficult situation and this much about how you overcame it. So the example answer shows how I was able to deal with a difficult customer, and you can see that I spoke about it in literally 2 lines. I haven't gone and I didn't start a story time. I didn't start telling them what happened. You want to keep it really clear, really short, sweet, simple, but you want to really give them an idea of what type of person you are in that type of situation. Can you handle things? Can you deal with problems when they come your way? And can you use your initiative? And you have got to portray that all in your answer. Now, if you haven't been employed before and this is not something that you're used to, what you want to do in this situation, if you haven't worked before, is you want to mention a time that you have dealt with a problem or a difficult situation in a different part of your life. Now, this still has to be of some relevance. So please do not bring your home dramas or your friendship dramas to the interview. That is not what I'm talking about. By this, I mean, have you been in sports clubs where there's been an issue in the sports club and you've managed to help, or you've managed to deal with things, or you've been a really good team player for other clubs? Or have you been in a situation at school, gone uni, or if you've been in secondary school or A-level or college, you have definitely dealt with a difficult situation. Let's use group work, for example. Give me a time when you have done group work and it's not gone your way. How have you dealt with it? Talk about a time when you've been in charge at school, and if it didn't go your way, how did you cope? So if you were maybe a prefect or a course representative or someone that held a little bit of responsibility, this is the time you give them a situation outside of work and you are able to integrate it into a working environment. What did you like least about your last job? You're basically being asked to throw your last company under the bus. That's how it seems, right? No, the employer is basically trying to see how smart you really are. So anyone that sits there and says,
oh, they didn't pay me properly, oh, I didn't like it there, I didn't like the staff, my manager was a...
No, you don't want to sit there and start doing that. What you want to do is talk about why you feel the company or where you worked wasn't right for you in your personal growth. You may want to say things like, I felt like I had outgrown the company, I felt like I was ready to take on more challenges. Things like this where you feel that, where it's more you've made the decision to leave because you want to progress in your career, as opposed to you want to leave because you're bored of the job or you want more money or something like that. The reason why they will like something like that is because you're basically complimenting them. You're saying, I've left that job and I'm now at an interview at this job because I feel that it's going to help me progress, it's going to help me develop as a person and in my career journey. So what you want to do in this question is basically say, this is the job that I had and you are the job that I want. They basically want an indirect comparison between your last role and their company. Show them that the company just wasn't giving you certain things that you believe that the new company can. Simple, right? And my last and my most favourite question, do you have any questions? When an employer asks you, do you have any questions? I'm going to give you a list. These are perfect questions that you want to ask your employer. Please don't ever say no. You want to seem like an enthusiastic young adult that is ready to learn and wants to get involved and wants to get stuck in. Somebody that doesn't ask any questions doesn't want to do that. Someone that's not interested in attending a party is not going to ask for the location and the venue and what it's like and is it going to be good or is it not. So you've got to apply that same mentality to your working life. If you're really that interested in getting the job, then you would want to know what training is put in place. How long would it usually take for me to develop into the top role? How is the career progression? Ask them about their role, what they do, how did they get into the job, what made them want to progress into this field of work? How did they get into this field of work? You want to ask them all questions that gets them talking, and that is when it becomes a conversation. That is no longer when you're sitting in the hot seat being questioned. You've now turned it around and you've now asked them questions. If it's more than one person, always turn and speak to both of them. Ask the both of them questions. Don't ever make one person feel more left out than the other. They won't feel it. Yes, they're not going to get upset about it. But what you want to do is show that you know how to communicate. You know how to keep a conversation. And also you want to sound interested. So that's all the questions from me, guys. Hopefully a couple of these tips have helped you in how to answer these questions and what to do moving forward. Don't know what we're doing yet next week, but I will see you next Sunday. Take care, everybody. Mwah.